Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to today. My name is Yeti Williams. I'm the founder of LagosMums, which is a community for parents, caregivers, and educators raising children in the 21st century. And we try to cover everything that relates to preparing our children for the future to be global citizens. And that includes, obviously, the choice of education, where they go to school. And one of the things we try to do with this series of podcasts is bring various heads of schools or admissions departments to talk about the process of selecting the right school for our children. There's a perfect school for each child. So it's about really understanding our children and understanding how they learn, the environment that would help them, that will continue to nurture them to be the best versions of themselves. So with that, today we have three amazing ladies from Harrogate Ladies College. And we're just going to be having a conversation about, the college, where it's located, what type of students will thrive there. We'll also talk about the admission process. We'll hear from the two head prefects that we have joining us today. And I think the most important thing is we want to talk about what a parent or a family might not find on your website. Yeah, the website has a lot of the information most of us would need. But what we're trying to get and tease out is really the behind the scenes, the experience of being a student and what it means for the future. Yeah. So with that said, we're going to start introductions and we're going to go from my left to my right. So my left is Lucy. So if you can start by introducing yourself, what year you're in, how long you've been at Harrogate, and something unusual about yourself. Yeah?
So I'm Lucy. I'm in year 13 at Harrogate Ladies College, so my last year here, and I've been here for 9 years now, so a really long time. I started boarding here when I was 11. My family live down in the south of the country. Yeah, so my dad's military.
Yeah. And one thing about you, unexpected?
Probably I've lived in 11 different houses since I was born.
Oh, wow. That is a lot. So moving must be easy for you then. You can move overnight. All right. Lovely. Nice meeting you. And what are your subjects?
So I take biology, chemistry, and textiles A-level.
Okay. And what are you hoping to do with that?
Yeah, she's very, very talented at all three, but particularly the textiles.
Yeah, well, fantastic. Awesome. Nice meeting you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Me?
Yes.
I'm Sylvia Brett. I'm principal here at Harrogate Ladies College. I have the best job in the world, in absolutely the most brilliant school in the world. It is my absolute joy to be principal here, not least because I get to work with amazing young women like Lucy and Izzy. This is my 12th year as principal here, and something which I think the pupils probably know about me, but others may not, is that I really like a bit of bling. I love glitter and sequins. I have so many lanyards to match my jumpers. It is a little bit excessive, but I think nothing is wrong with a bit more sparkle in our lives.
Oh, I love that. And I see your sweater. You do have some bling on it, right? With your buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice to connect again, Sylvia. Thank you. And over to you, Izzy.
So I'm Izzy. I've been here for 7 years, so I started in upper 3. I take history, physics and drama, so they're a bit of a weird mix. But one fun thing about me is actually I have a farm, so I have 250 deer and some sheep, and so they're all things agricultural.
Wow, that's certainly unexpected. Fantastic. Lovely. Great meeting you. Okay, so as I was preparing for this, I know you might have some questions already, but we do have quite one of the things that's been happening recently is there's been a lot of interest in terms of schools for children from our community. So our community is huge. We're now over 150,000 followers across social media. So it's pretty deep. And our newsletter is now over 15,000 subscribers. So we do have a touch point to a lot of parents. And I've been doing this for a decade. So one of the things I've really come to realize is that while every child is unique and every family is unique, there's specific questions that when we get the right answers, we are more informed about making the right choice for our children. So I'd like to come to you, Sylvia. And if you were to talk about, what makes Harrogate Ladies College different?
I think it's quite difficult to say that because most heads would probably say what I'm going to say, but it's really, really true here. I think there is something really remarkable in the heart of the school here. The values of the school are really, really important to us. And I see it in our former pupils as well as our current pupils. There is that sense of inner decency and service and hard work, but actually, not taking ourselves too seriously. We celebrate the opportunities that we have together, and our pupils and our staff. I've never known people work as hard as they do. But there's a lot of joy around the place, and that's one of the many things I love. There is a really, really good heart here. And I know that other heads would say that, but there is something about almost in the brickwork. We're 131 years old, and I see it along the long thread of history since we were founded, of that sense of adventure and curiosity and kindness. I think with all of those qualities underpinning what we're doing, that helps our young people to go into the world, hopefully strong characters, strong personalities, and fully prepared for what the world ahead is going to throw at them. And I think that underpins all the academic work. But it is about the character of these incredible people that I'm sitting with here and those outside the door, which is so special.
Amazing. And when we talk about character, how do you, so obviously there's the academic side, but in terms of what you do to actually nurture that character in your students, what are some of the things that makes Harrogate different in terms of that character development?
Gosh, I mean, I would like you to ask Izzy and Lucy.
Okay.
Such good examples, but I think Izzy and Lucy are both incredibly special, but they're also both very different. And what we really hope for here is that there is space for everyone to be truly themselves. That sense of character that comes with authenticity, with being able to be honest about who you are and celebrate it, and therefore giving other people the opportunity to be true to themselves. I have had the absolute joy of seeing these two grow up over the last 9 years with Lucy. And I have seen them navigate their journeys as young people. And both of them have come such a long way. But if I can I ask them to answer that question?
Absolutely. I would love to hear their perspective as well. Please go ahead. Lucy, would you go first and then?
Of course. So I think one of the things that we do here to nurture that character is celebrating again that uniqueness, thriving in what's special about ourselves and picking that out from different people and giving them the tools to take that forward. I think it's one thing that's been really important for my time here. I've grown up here, been here, as I said, since I was 11 years old, and getting to know so many different people from so many different parts of life, and watching them each individually spread their wings and kind of learn how to live within the world. I think the world is changing every day, and adapting to that and being strong within yourself and confident in who you are is really important, and one thing that we celebrate here at Harrogate Ladies College. I think that's really important. A key thing that we have here. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks. Yourself, Izzy?
Well, from a personal point of view, when I came in upper three, I was the most nervous individual you'd ever meet. I couldn't sit through an assembly without worrying that I had to get out. And I think as HLC, it's really helped me build my confidence. I couldn't speak to somebody that I didn't know for more than 2 minutes, but now I speak in front of hundreds and I can speak to anyone that you give me. And I think it's such an important thing at HLC that we build that confidence in everyone to be themselves, to go out into the world and be independent. And I think that's the main thing at HLC. It is the key foundation, I think, that confidence of all of our students here.
And I think that's based on we don't have to be perfect. We had a brilliant Kaylee at the end of last term, which is like Scottish country dancing. And I think it was you, Lucy, who said to me afterwards, "We need to do more of that, Mrs. Brett, because we're all terrible and hopefully trying to encourage our young people, they don't have to get it right all the time. They don't have to get it. And lovely Izzy, I remember those days when she found it a little bit hard to get up in front of people, and now she does it, and that comes out of failing as well as out of succeeding. And both of these two are incredibly humble but dedicated young people, and I think that comes from testing who you are as well as always getting stuff right.
So you're absolutely right. Failure is simply feedback. So yeah, it's not about perfection. It's about getting started, learning from it, pivoting if you have to, and keep moving. And that really is the world we're preparing our children for. It's changing so fast. And I keep telling my parents, the parents I work with, that we're not raising children for the past that we knew. We're raising them for a future that we don't know. So that means really equipping them for that. So can we talk a little bit about how HLC balances extracurricular and academic work for the students? Because as we've just talked about and started to touch on, the future is very dynamic. So we need certain characteristics to ensure that when your girls leave, they're ready to face whatever might come their way. So can we talk a little bit about the balance between academics and extracurricular outside class?
I'm going to start by, and then I'm going to let these two talk, that none of us are very good at it. And we all struggle. I struggle as a head, and these two struggle as head prefect. But I think my top tip for balance is knowing when to ask for help. Knowing that it's okay to say, actually, that's just too much, and I have to say no to that, so that I can honour what I have been asked to do and also look after myself. But I'm going to see what these two think. Lucy.
Yeah, so as Mrs. Brett touched, I think one of the things that we have here that I have utilised quite a lot myself, especially within the last 2 years with A-levels, is those support networks that we have at Harrogate Ladies College. The teams of people that we have here that will help with organisation and just general feeling. I mean, people have their days, feeling unhappy and things like that. We have so many people to go to here, sorry. I struggle quite a lot myself with organisation, and I've been meeting weekly with my head of sixth form to try and tackle that. And one thing that she tells me, which is something that I've really taken on in the past few weeks, is that she's really trying to help me take a hold of my own learning. And I think that a lot of people kind of misunderstand that quite a lot, in terms of that they feel like they have to do that on their own. And I think that's one thing here that is widely spoken at school, is that doing things on your own is not always the best way to go about it. And sometimes in order to take hold of your own learning, you need that support from other people. And it's widely offered around the school, within boarding. I play a lot of sports myself, so that takes up quite a lot of time. I've done that since I was in year 7. I've been in the same teams for the past 7 years. So finding time to do that is really important for me as well. So having that help and support to tackle my organisation has been really helpful for me.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, the extracurricular clubs that we have here vary over any sort of subject. If there isn't a club that we don't have, then you can make one. It's really good, and I think those sorts of clubs are a really good break from your academic work, break up your day, help you meet new friends. And once again, with the network thing, you go and meet new people you can lean on or ask for help from. And all the teachers are all there for you all the time. I mean, we have our tutor one-to-ones once every term, I think. They ask you how your work's going, how your friendship's going, and just how life in general is. And I think that's a really, really helpful thing to be able to balance everything that's going on in your life, as well as schoolwork, extracurricular activities, and just finding that work-life balance.
And it is really hard, again, particularly these two, because they're prefects, they're in teams, they're in productions, they're so incredibly busy. And it's an ongoing conversation, isn't it, about helping them to find their own balance and maybe sometimes saying no. It is a lifetime journey, but one of the many things that I think helps build the character we were talking about earlier are all of these opportunities, whether it is being in a play or running a club about Harry Potter, or doing Textiles Club or whatever, and all of those different opportunities, all the charity fundraising that goes on, all of those help our young people build their character and their sense of who they are. And that then helps them with their intellectual endeavours, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Wait, I wanted to start moving a little bit into some of the questions that are very pressing for parents, which is around diversity. So if you could talk a little bit in terms of how diverse is the school population.
I think it's one of the things I love probably the most about the place, because we have such a diverse culture. Lucy can talk about the boarding community. We have, I think, 24 different nationalities, and we really, really celebrate. There was a cultural event yesterday in one of the boarding houses looking at different foods and activities and so forth. But I hope that our pupils from overseas genuinely find here an acceptance and an openness and a joy at finding out where these people come from and discovering how big the world is. We have people from lots and lots of different countries, and I genuinely think that makes us all more tolerant. It makes us all realise kind of our common humanity and the things that bind us rather than the things that divide us. But Lucy, do you want to talk about the boarding community?
So as I said, again, I've been here for such a long time, and living with people from so many different walks of life is something that I really value. And looking back on my time here, I think it's something that's really helped me grow as a person, because now I feel confident in going out into the world and learning and navigating how to live and work with different types of people who share different experiences. I think that's one thing here with the diversity that we have at Harrogate Ladies College that is really important, that we all learn from each other. So many different activities, as Mrs. Brett said, the cultural evenings, even just being in the boarding houses, and girls will cook from different countries, will cook 3-course meals, and we'll all share those different things. And I think getting to know people from so many different countries has been something that I've really valued while being here. And it's so celebrated. Everyone is so confident in themselves, and being able to share their cultures with other people, I think, is something that they really enjoy to do as well.
And it's not always easy. We know that because we all have our own cultural understanding and bias, and it takes a lot of courage to accept that, a truth might be this in one country and it might be that in a different country. And that's why trying to reach our common humanity and our common respect is so important. It's not making everyone the same. It's actually going, yay, we're all different, but look how the world is with us all being different. I mean, Izzy's life in farming is quite undiverse, isn't it?
Yeah. So when I first came here, I found it a bit of a shock, because the primary school I went to, we were all farmers' children, and we all knew exactly the same thing. Coming here, I thought it was brilliant because you get to know people from everywhere. So in the first year, my best friend was from Lebanon. I had a friend from Spain. There was so many different cultures in our year group, and I feel it's been such a privilege to get to know people from all around the world, because you feel better connected to people and the world in general by knowing these different things. You learn things from people. I remember a girl in upper 3 tried to teach me Spanish. That didn't work, but it learned about her culture, her language, and things like that. I think it's a really key thing at HLC. Your eyes are really opened when you come here to the world in general, because you get to know so many people, and it really, really is a privilege.
Fantastic. Sounds really, really amazing. Are you taking adult students as well? Yeah, but fantastic. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the some of the more admin parts of the application process. So if you could walk us through the application process, I guess maybe the more not common, but the entry years that most parents would tend to consider. And if you can just walk us through what that would be for a parent who's potentially considering HLC.
Sure. So we have boarders. We have had some year 5 boarders, but most of our boarders come in from year 7, and our overseas boarders tend to come in more like maybe year 9, year 10. If you're coming in for year 10, you're going straight into the GCSE program, which can be quite a struggle, particularly if it's a brand new culture and you're trying to get used to boarding at the same time. So sometimes people might come for maybe a term in year 9 before they come into year 10. But we really try to be flexible. We want to meet the needs and the interests of our prospective pupils, and we will always be flexible with what people might be interested in. We have people who come in for year 12 for an A-level programme, but again, we are flexible with that. We have a 1-year GCSE in year 11. So the key thing really is to think about why you want to come to the UK to study and what you want to achieve from that. And for some people, they just want to come to experience British education. Some want to come with a particular focus on academics and getting into a particular course. And some, it's a combination. But whoever comes, we will have had lots of conversations before they finally arrive here to talk about what those needs and interests are. And hopefully during that time, we will draw out of our young people, our new pupils, more interests that they didn't know were there. The whole process of registering interest is a very, very personal one. The applicant will have a member of staff who's dedicated to keeping in touch with them, answering any questions. There are lots of opportunities for Zoom or Teams meeting with me or with a member of the team. Obviously, ultimately, if you can get to visit, that's great, but we also know that's really difficult to do. So we have a video boarding tour, which I think maybe one of you did, yeah. So you can get to see. We can also set up a maybe Teams meeting with one of the pupils, because fundamentally they're the ones who will absolutely tell you how it really is. There are written papers in maths and English, and sometimes our overseas pupils want to sit for a scholarship, and so they can go through the scholarship process and have a scholarship interview with me. But we want to try and make the process as personal as possible, because I don't underestimate what a huge, huge decision it is for parents sending their children overseas to school, let alone locally to school. But it is such a massive thing to do. And I want the parents and the pupil, when they actually arrive here, to feel like, yes, this is the right place. I've done all my due diligence. I've thought of every question I can. And we're now in partnership working with the young people who come to join us. So I think the main thing is it's a personalised experience, and we try and work with families in hopefully as least stressful way as possible.
Which brings me to a bit of you've touched on it a little bit, but the question around applying through the scholarship route, what does that typically entail?
So our scholarship programme is very broad. There is minimal financial benefit, because it's more about the honour of being a scholar. But we offer scholarships in music, art, drama, sport. Football is one of our new scholarships, dance. We have an academic scholarship. And what we're looking for is not necessarily someone who's got all of their grades in a music or all of these incredible things that they've done outside of school. What we're looking for is potential. So we have had overseas pupils who may have done a dance scholarship and they've sent in a recording of them dancing, or a music scholarship, they've sent in a recording of them performing. And then they would have an interview with me or with the head of department, and just to discuss their kind of potential, that innate ability that seems to be the spark really that puts them into a scholarship bracket. The academic scholarship is not based on getting a certain score in the entrance exam. It's much more to do with lateral thinking, and people sit a written paper which has a number of open-ended questions that they can choose from. And then I get to have great conversations with them, just discussing what are effectively philosophical concepts. But I just have the best time doing that, because young people, I think, in some ways are less inhibited than us old folk in terms of get the answer right. But it's about potential rather than necessarily pieces of paper in terms of the scholarship process.
And so it's important for parents to recognize that the scholarship is more about the honor of being a scholar, not so much from a financial perspective.
No, it doesn't come with much financial benefit at all.
Okay. So in terms of that, financial issues are a big thing. And, with some of the things that have happened from the economy perspective, FX, depreciation of currency and all of that, it's a real question and concern parents do have. So I'm just wondering, in terms of, is there anything you offer that supports a parent's either flexibility, paying in installments, anything that you do to help on the financial side?
I am so aware of the huge financial burden on families, particularly with the changing situation in the UK. And I think it is our duty to be mindful of the parents and the pressure that they're under. And we will try and be as flexible as possible. So we do have an instalment plan. We have a fees in advance plan. We are very, very mindful in terms of raising fees and making sure that really people have time to plan. We have in the past given some means-tested bursaries to overseas families. It's quite hard to do because we try to use our bursary money for where we think it's going to make the most impact.
Right.
But I would say to your families, if you have concerns, talk to us. We will work with you. And we are very, very keen to make sure that the experience here is worth the money.
Right.
That's why it's great working with you, Yeti, and getting feedback from other of our partners across the world on what our families are really looking for, and making sure that we are offering everything that is so great about Harrogate Ladies College and British education, so that families know it's worth that extra money.
Nigerians have always loved sending their children to boarding school in the UK, but with some of the things going on now, and also with the VAT coming, there's so much uncertainty. So quite a few parents are just like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? What are we doing? And so there's a bit of hesitation, but also a lot of sometimes unnecessary, maybe anxiety, because it hasn't fully landed in terms of what does this change look like and how is it truly going to impact. And for as long as there's just a lot of chatter around what's going to happen, people are then more anxious than maybe they need to be. So what would you say to help balance, a parent who right now just doesn't know what to do? I know it's not going to be perfect, but what would you say to help somebody who's currently thinking like, I don't know what to do?
I think I want to say hold your nerve. We don't know. I mean, we had something else out from our taxation department this week. The government budget will happen in the end of October, so we'll have more of an idea then of what it's actually going to look like. But I think the most important thing is that the schools that you work with, that we help out the parents to plan. No surprise. So that's what we've been trying to do with our parents here. We established what we would do back in April, and we've held our line with that. We haven't announced yet what we're going to do in September 25 because we're waiting to hear what the government says in a couple of weeks' time. But I mean, one of the things that I am seeing is parents maybe looking at different models. Maybe they might have sent their child to the UK for 7 years. Maybe they're now looking at 5 or even 2. We have a number of wonderful, wonderful pupils who come maybe just for a term, and they bring so much to our school community. So I guess I would encourage your parents to, as I say, hold their nerve, but also maybe look at things differently, what they want to get out of the experience, and whether it can be achieved in a slightly different way. And we are really, really keen to keep our international pupils because, as you've heard, they're just so brilliant and so much a part of our school. And if that means we need to change our models a little bit, that's what we'll do, because we want to work with the families on that.
Right, fantastic. Oh, that was said so well. Very soothing, very soothing. No, really, I appreciate you because I think it's so important not to ignore the elephant in the room, right? Like, it is a thing and we have to be able to talk about it openly. Then that helps everybody feel like, all right, this is somebody I can speak to about where I actually am with my family, and then, go from there.
As I say, we really want our families to carry on coming across the sea because it's just so brilliant having you. So please talk to us and we'll see how we can help.
Yeah, I think that's the main message. Is one thing I do try to cascade to our community is just pick up the phone or send an email and just ask. You never know until you make that connection and ask, right? So, okay. Yeah. So as I start to wrap up, I wanted to ask another big question that tends to come through a lot, obviously, in terms of where would you say, in terms of where children end up, your students from HLC, the universities they end up in, and also if you wanted to share anything about the results over the last year in terms of your A-levels and GCSEs, let's go for that.
I'm going to start, because I've been talking too much, by asking these two what they are planning for next year and what you're hoping to do.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
So at the moment I do biology, chemistry and textiles. So I am looking at going into doing a course in paramedic sciences at university, but hopefully before then taking a gap year and travelling to work in some hospitals across the country. I'm not exactly sure yet. I've been looking into going to Ghana or to Tanzania to volunteer out there working in the hospitals with doctors out there. So that is my plan for the next year or two.
Amazing. So what did you say you want to study?
Paramedic sciences.
Okay. Paramedic sciences. Oh, nice. Okay. Amazing. And yourself, Izzy?
So I've been looking at law for quite a while. I haven't quite decided whether I want to study law as my degree yet or do a law conversion. But my very end goal is to be a legal officer in the army, so go to Sandhurst and train to be an officer. So that's been my plan since I was about 13, and I'm going to stick with it.
Okay, amazing.
So, I think that's a great example of, in a sense, there isn't a common path for any of our people. They go off to follow their passion, and that's what we try to say to them right from the beginning, is find what you love and really pursue it. I was looking at what some of our Nigerian students have gone off to do. Deputy head girl a few years ago went off to Durham to do law and is now doing a master's at LSE in gender studies. We've had Nigerian pupils who've gone off to do psychology. I'm just looking at my list here. Economics from Imperial, biomed, finance, pharmacy, medicine, music, choral scholar at King's London. So just a huge range of courses and institutions. And again, it's something I love. We had a pupil a few years ago who went to the Royal Northern to study opera. We had last year who's gone to do filmmaking. We've had someone who learn how to do graphic design, to write graphic novels. And that's what brings me the joy when I see our pupils where they go off to these hugely different range of opportunities. And I really hope, I don't know if you understand what I mean by a conveyor belt. I do not want this to be a conveyor belt education. I want this to be an education where all of our young people can choose their directions, find their passions, have a go at something, realise it's not what they loved, try something new, and then surprise themselves with where they land. With
And would you say most of your A-level graduates tend to stay in the UK, or is it pretty broad worldwide in terms of universities?
Really broad. I would say probably the majority stay in the UK. Quite a few are having years like Lucy now. I think maybe that's something around COVID that people just want to have time to be and explore. But we have pupils, we've had a number who go to US universities, and we're very fortunate that we have some expertise in supporting pupils into US universities. We had somebody last year who had an offer from Harvard, Princeton and Columbia. Incredible. But we also have pupils who go to university in Europe, maybe to Asia. So yes, what we again work with our pupils as individuals to help them find the destination and place that they will really begin to flourish when they leave school.
Okay. I'm going to stay on that a little bit because it is an increasing question we do get quite a lot of, which is around support for US applications to university in the US. I went to undergrad in the US, University of Pittsburgh. I studied economics and math. And then I worked for a few years in a financial services company, Bloomberg. And then I went back to get my MBA from Yale before I moved back to Nigeria. So, I'm a bit of a... So, I do know a couple of people do ask me about the US path. And one of the questions is, would they get that support if their child was at a British boarding school here? So if you could talk a little bit about that, because you mentioned it, and I think that's quite interesting.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you are familiar with the fact that in Britain, Oxford and Cambridge have become, it's much harder to get into if you go to an independent school.
Yeah.
And as a result, a lot of independent schools are looking more to the US for some of the prestigious universities there. So hence we will support pupils who go to US universities. We're also really lucky because we have quite a lot of American pupils here. There is an American base nearby. And so we have expertise, we have people we can ask for advice because as you will know, applying to American uni means separate applications for everything and essays and transcripts and just such a long process. So again, the individual care that our pupils will get from the head of sixth form, the deputy head of sixth form, their form tutor, the subject specialists, all help them make what end up to be very, very successful applications.
My daughter is in an American school here, so she's in 11th grade now. So we are starting SATs and visiting schools and all that. US application is just a little crazy, but it's really about trying to make sure that you're applying to a school because that's the university you really want to go to, and being able to show that right through the applications. Okay. Fantastic. I'm enjoying it. I told you it was going to feel like a conversation, and it's feeling like that to me. I hope same for you. So one of the other questions, that we do get quite a bit is there's some schools that are boarding, and on weekends, they tend to empty out, right? So if a child is far away, doesn't have guardians, they tend to feel a bit lonely. So can you talk a little bit about what tends to happen over the weekends for your boarding students, and also your mix between boarding and day?
I'm going to get Lucy, the expert, to talk about that.
Yeah, okay, Lucy, let's go.
So we have 4 boarding houses here at Harrogate Ladies College. So we're kind of split into year groups, but not really. So we're more in year group pockets, I would call them, so. We kind of have younger students together, middle school students together, and then older girls. We have our own house, which is a bit further away from the school itself. The house on the weekend, to put it quite blankly, do not empty at all.
Okay.
Not at all. So we have a massive range of trips on at a weekend. So they visit loads of different places around the UK. So Christmas markets in like Manchester. I think they've been to Alton Towers, which is a bit further down the country, and even places close by just to go bowling and things like that. So it's quite helpful keeping people busy. That homesickness that you feel when you first arrive here is inevitable. No point in trying to ignore that at all. We rather embrace it and kind of move forward with it. So keeping people busy and going on those different kinds of trips is really important to kind of tackle that. But there is so many boarders here at school. It's never a quiet place. On a weekend, we have brunch and breakfast over in the school building. So we all have that together. So you can meet up with friends from different boarding houses and things like that. We are right in the heart of Harrogate Town Centre. It is a 5-minute walk down the road. So that is there to explore as well. And we're all allowed to do that too. And we don't have, one of the things that we don't have here, which are a lot of other boarding schools, is exeat weekends. Can be quite difficult for those who don't have anyone close by. My older brothers went to a boarding school with exeat weekends and always found it really difficult. So not having that here is quite, I think it's quite important because people will, it's really important that they're able to stay here. I think our boarding houses are open during half terms and holidays if people can't get home. Things are put in place there to keep people busy again. So
okay, fantastic.
Doing something.
Yeah, and that's good to know.
The integration.
Yeah, so I think it's really nice to be able to have the option of boarding a few nights a term. I haven't done it in the past few years. I think I've done it once before, and I really enjoyed it. But it's nice to be around people that are here all the time because they've got other stories to tell you. Day pupils are always invited to go on the boarding trips as well. So there's still that integration on the weekends. So you'll still be able to see your friends, and it's not like they're keeping you here. You can go away. You can see your friends. You can see your family. It's quite free, I think, and it's really nice for the day pupils as well to see how homely it is for those boarders, and in turn it makes it homely for us as well.
I love how there are two perspectives to this, so that's really good to hear your sides.
They're both bad, that's why.
So 2 more things. In terms of faith, is there anything on campus at all or in the college? Do you have like a church, or how do you help people of different faiths So we can talk about that. And then logistics. How close are you to, points for travel? If your child needs to then get to Nigeria, the parents can come and pick them up. If you can talk about those two things.
Okay. So we are a Christian foundation. We were founded on Christian principles 131 years ago. But we work really hard to embrace everyone, whether they have a faith or not. We have a chapel, so we have a chapel service twice a week. We have formal chapel services, like we have a very formal Christmas carol service, and we have a formal remembrance service, and a Founders Day service. But the chapel services during the week are very much pupil led. So we had a brilliant one today on the power of poetry, run by a sixth form group. We had a fantastic one last week on the importance of being aware of how we eat and how we recycle food, and how food is for all the people who don't have enough food in the world. So there are really, really important messages which are shared in the chapel. We have pupils who have other faiths. We have a Muslim prayer room. We have pupils who maybe go to Catholic church in town if they want to do that. The main thing is that pupils know that they are respected for their faith, but also have the opportunity to question. And I really hope that chapel is that chance to kind of have a moment of stillness in your life when you can just stop and realise your place in the universe, and how small we are, but also how great the universe is. So the chapel is a really important part of who we are, but it kind of underpins rather than is very overt what we do. But the spirituality is at the heart of the school, and it's in our aims and our values, that kind of fundamental belief in the sense do as you would be done by, being kind, being respectful, being open. And for those of us who have a Christian faith, being able to celebrate that here, but in a way which does not oppress anyone else. That's really important too.
Thanks for that. Very well explained. And then in terms of the logistics for getting to and from?
As Lucy said, we are 5 minutes walk from Harrogate Town Centre, which is brilliant, particularly if you're a boarder new to the UK, because you have the benefit of beautiful boarding houses, but then you can actually pop into town if you need to, if you want to have a coffee, if you want to go out for a meal. Some of our older pupils actually have jobs. They work in local restaurants. So that's great for their independence, or they volunteer in charity shops. So Harrogate is very, very close by. There's also train connections to Leeds and York, which are maybe half an hour, just over half an hour. So lots of opportunity to visit local towns and cities. Our nearest airport is Leeds Bradford, and that's only about 15-20 minutes away. That connects largely to maybe Amsterdam, or it does have some direct routes to other cities across the world. We're about an hour and a half from Manchester, lots of direct flights from Manchester. We're also about an hour and a half from Newcastle. Again, lots of direct flights from Newcastle. But our pupils come in to Heathrow, they come into Stansted, Luton, right across the country, and we will always arrange a collection for them from whatever airport they've come in from. It is really important, and I would emphasise this to your families, that all of our boarders have a guardian. And a proper guardian, someone who's genuinely going to look after the children when they're here, such a long way away from home. So having a guardian nearby is also really, really helpful. And that means that if people come in and they're on a horribly early flight, they can maybe go to their guardian's home before they come to school. And building that relationship with the guardian is really key to supporting the children. Sorry.
Absolutely. And do you offer recommendations for that, or point them in directions for? That's something they have to source on their own. Any guardianship?
We have a list, and there are various websites of recommended guardians who we can point people to the website, but we don't recommend a specific individual.
Right. Anything you want to share that I haven't asked?
I was just going to say that if any of your families ever want to talk to me or to any of the team, or any of these fabulous pupils, we're always very happy to hop on a Teams or a Zoom call.
Okay, fantastic. And the final question is food.
Oh,
yes. And this is for the students, Lucy and Izzy. What is the food like? And coming from a perspective that Nigerian children are used to spicy food. So tell us about that. What happens?
I think it's really good because we do have a lot of options at dinner time. So there's a hot option, and then there's sandwiches and salads and things like that, which is really good. But we also do theme days. So some days of the term will have a theme from a specific country or a part of the world, which is really nice because for those boarders and students from overseas, then it's sort of a reminder of home as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, and just to add to that, as Izzy says, I think the food here is really lovely. But also in the boarding houses, each boarding house has a kitchen, and we have full range over the weekend to go into town. We're very close into Leeds as well. There's lots of different food markets from around the world in Leeds as well. To pick up food and then come back and cook for as long as you want. I know. It takes a really long time, so there is full freedom to do that here as well, because a lot of the girls here that I have spoken to, boarders, do miss the food from home, and I think it's inevitable to happen. I mean, you've grown up with something and then suddenly coming over to England and not having that again, so that ability to cook is really nice as well, and to share that with other people is also. Yeah.
And the kitchens, maybe sometimes for food, they will put out additional spices that the pupils can add. Chilies or other things that will give an extra zing to your
cake.
Which I think the pupils really like, having that flexibility. We did have, I don't know if you remember, we had a cultural food event a few years ago, didn't we? Yeah. And our Nigerian pupils, oh my gosh, they cooked goat curry. It was, wow. Absolutely brilliant. So we love it when the pupils do that, because it's a little piece of their home that they're sharing with us.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. If you were just to wrap up and share, how parents can get in touch with you, which we will share with, with the whole list when we're sending this recording out.
Amazing. So you can email me at principal@hlc.org.uk. You can email the admissions team at admissions@hlc.org.uk. But do get in touch, have a look at the website, and please, no question is too small, no question is too obvious. I understand what it's like as a parent. If you're sending your child a long way away, you need to be really sure, really secure in your mind that you've made the right decision. And thank you for thinking of us. It is such a privilege to have our pupils from overseas, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a really amazing conversation. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Izzy. You girls are brilliant, and you're great ambassadors for your school, honestly. You really are, and I'm not just saying that. So it's really good to hear you guys share your honest perspectives of your experiences and all of that. So thank you everybody for tuning in today and joining us in this conversation with the three amazing ladies from Harrogate Ladies College. This recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll also be sending it through to all our email subscribers, with links on how you can get in touch with HLC if you have any questions. Do you know when next you might be in Nigeria?
Oh, soon, I hope. I would.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I would really love to.
Yeah. And when next you're in Lagos, we'll be sure to let our followers know. So thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. My name again is Yeti Williams, founder, CEO of LagosMums. And we're here to help parents make much more informed decisions on everything from birth all the way to university. So we will see you online later. Thanks,
you. Yeti. Thank you.